Coral reefs thrive where sunlight, clear water, and living structure meet. Every coral branch creates shelter for smaller lives. Reef color supports communication, camouflage, and survival. Cleaning stations allow different species to cooperate peacefully.
Daylight transforms the reef hour by hour. A healthy reef is a living community, not a single organism. Coastal nurseries connect the land, the tide, and the open sea. Seagrass meadows feed turtles, dugongs, fish, and countless invertebrates.
mangrove roots protect young animals during their most vulnerable stage.
Each tide carries food, oxygen, and new life into the shallows. Estuaries mix river nutrients with the salt water of the ocean. Healthy coasts depend on mangroves, seagrass, reefs, and open water remaining connected.
The open ocean is a moving world shaped by currents and migration.
Whales cross entire seas to reach seasonal feeding and breeding grounds.
Dolphins use cooperation, sound, and memory to travel through open water.
Ocean fronts concentrate plankton and attract animals from great distances.
Even floating seaweed can become a temporary nursery in the blue.
Pelagic life survives through endurance, timing, and constant movement.
The Coral Triangle shelters an extraordinary concentration of marine life.
Many island species occur nowhere else on Earth. With
Camouflage allows tiny animals to disappear within coral, sponge, and sand. And
Reef partnerships exchange shelter, cleaning, transport, and food. Coral spawning briefly connects distant reefs through open water.
This diversity depends on healthy habitats, from mangroves to deep reef slopes.
Cephalopods read their surroundings through touch, color, and motion. Octopuses explore the seafloor with flexible arms and sensitive suckers. Squid communicate through rapidly controlled skin patterns.
Cuttlefish combine camouflage, depth perception, and precise fin movement.
Nautiluses preserve an ancient body design adapted to steep tropical reefs. These intelligent mollusks inhabit waters from bright lagoons to the abyss.
Small crustaceans keep marine communities active from dawn until night.
Crabs carry armor adapted to sand, rock, coral, kelp, and deep mud.
Shrimp clean fish, build burrows, filter plankton, and share shelters.
Lobsters navigate reefs using touch, smell, and long antennae. Camouflage may be grown, borrowed, or carried across the seafloor.
Here we see the arrow crab, traversing a colorful garden of orange tube sponges. Its delicate movements belie its resilience.
From tide pools to hydrothermal vents, armored life occupies almost every habitat.
Temperate seas change with season, surge, and the growth of kelp.
Kelp forests create three-dimensional shelter from seafloor to surface. Cold water reefs can be as colorful as tropical coral gardens.
Seals, fish, octopuses, and crustaceans move through the same underwater forest.
Coastal surge shapes every movement among rocks and kelp.
Seasonal light controls the rhythm of these rich, temperate communities.
Polar oceans remain rich with life beneath cold water and drifting ice. Sea ice provides shelter, feeding grounds, and breathing spaces.
cold polar seafloors support sponges, corals, crabs, and slow-growing invertebrates. The
Arctic and Antarctic species are precisely adapted to seasonal extremes.
Even in winter darkness, the polar ocean remains alive. Of it. In the deep ocean, patience and efficiency replace speed and sunlight. Bioluminescence is used for signaling, camouflage, and finding food. Marine snow carries organic energy from the surface into the abyss.
The tripod fish uses its elongated fins to stand high above the soft seabed, patiently waiting for prey to drift by.
Hydrothermal vents support communities powered without sunlight. The largest habitat on Earth remains quiet, dark, and far from empty. Across every ocean, life is linked by water, climate, and time. Currents connect tropical reefs, temperate forests, and polar seas. Migration carries animals across boundaries drawn only on human maps. The canyon currents guide us now toward the cooler, more temperate waters of the deeper ocean. Every habitat contributes energy and life to the wider ocean. Protecting marine diversity means protecting the connections between habitats. The ocean is a single living system, expressed through countless forms. Its quiet movement carries the power of an entire living world, One final boundary separates us from the hidden paradise below. Below the surface, the silence becomes a doorway. A single glance from this giant makes the open ocean feel intimate.
The dolphins move with curiosity, but never disturb the giant beside them.
From the smallest school to the greatest whale, every layer follows the moving sea. The giant descends toward a depth that sunlight can barely reach. It disappears into the blue, leaving one question behind. What waits ahead? New shapes emerge from below, gliding like shadows with wings.
Their movement turns the open ocean into a silent performance.
The smallest drifting life can summon the ocean's most graceful giants. Another giant follows a trail invisible from the world above. Its enormous body is sustained by life almost too small to see. Even this immense traveler depends on the gentle abundance of the sea. The ocean hides entire feasts inside water that appears empty. Where food gathers, travelers from distant waters briefly share the same path. Their ascent promises a moment the surface will not keep secret.
For one breathless instant, the underwater world rises into the sky.
Perfect coordination turns great speed into effortless motion.
Below the fast travelers, thousands of smaller lives move as one.
A school becomes a moving illusion, built from countless individual decisions.
The familiar pod returns, guiding us toward a brighter world. Every meter forward brings the hidden reef closer. Even the strangest shape in the open ocean has a purpose.
Rest and cooperation are essential, even in a world of constant movement.
A traveler built for distance enters the path ahead. Guided by temperature and instinct, it can cross an entire ocean. A floating island offers shelter where no solid ground exists. In open water, even drifting seaweed can become a safe beginning. For a few seconds, the sea releases its travelers into the air. A new generation enters the story beneath these warm waters. The calf's first ocean is protected by the body beside it. Every gentle movement becomes part of the calf's education. Protection can be seen in the smallest change of position. Familiar companions return as the deep ocean begins to rise. The color of the sea changes, announcing a world built in sunlight. At the edge of the reef, permanent residents patrol the blue. Their presence brings tension, yet the reef remains calm. New silhouettes rise from the border between reef and open sea. Their wings carry them toward the shallow gardens ahead.
A slower traveler now carries us into the reef.
The reef opens slowly, rewarding every second of the descent.
Beyond the giants, an underwater city begins to rise. The current transforms the reef into a moving river of color. Power and beauty share the same narrow passage. The reef keeps its most impressive figures just beyond each turn. A giant visitor arrives for one of the reef's most delicate services. The smallest fish perform work essential to the largest visitors. A single coral head can serve an entire community. The true scale of the reef appears only when we enter it.
Every closer view reveals another color, hidden from the surface.
Different mouths unlock different resources within the same reef. Shapes, colors, and movements divide the reef without creating conflict. Inside the moving tentacles, a smaller story is already unfolding.
Even a motionless animal can transform sunlight into life.
The reef saves some of its brightest colors for creatures only centimeters long. Trust creates one of the reef's most surprising partnerships. What looks dangerous becomes peaceful when both species benefit.
A master of disguise enters the journey without announcing itself.
Color, texture, and movement allow intelligence to become almost invisible.
Another shapeshifter takes its place above the reef floor.
Its skin becomes a moving language written in color.
The reef's signals now expand from one animal to an entire group. Silence becomes communication when the body itself carries the message. The seafloor now reveals animals that live almost entirely beneath it. The current delivers food directly to animals anchored inside the sand. The smallest secret in the reef may also be the hardest to find. The closer we look, the more completely the ocean hides its wonders. Power is waiting beneath a stone no larger than a hand. Precision, strength, and engineering meet inside this tiny animal.
The reef's smallest travelers continue the journey for us.
Thousands of unnoticed workers keep this underwater city alive. The tiny details now assemble into a world of overwhelming color. What looked peaceful from above becomes endlessly complex within. The journey has moved from the greatest animals to the smallest living details.
A hidden passage now leads toward the reef's most vibrant heart.
Every turn promises a discovery more beautiful than the last.
Beyond this passage, an entire underwater city is beginning to awaken.
What you have seen is only the entrance. The true coral paradise lies ahead.
The narrow entrance has opened into a city larger than it first appeared.
Every tower is crowded with life, yet every movement remains perfectly ordered.
The reef seems to breathe as each school rises for food and returns to safety.
A specialized mouth allows these fish to reach food hidden beyond the reach of others.
The next turn reveals a pattern so precise it appears carefully painted by the sea.
Young reef fish may wear patterns completely different from the adults they will become. The reef's largest grazers now begin work that reshapes the entire landscape.
Their powerful bites gradually turn old coral into the white sand of tropical shores.
A busy service station waits beside the route of every large reef traveler.
The grouper temporarily abandons caution because cooperation offers a greater reward. Some reef hunters rely on patience and borrowed camouflage rather than speed. Inside these moving tentacles, danger for one animal becomes protection for another. Within this small shelter, the next generation is guarded one breath at a time.
For this father, protection means carrying an entire brood within his mouth.
The reef hides some of its most elaborate colors close to the seafloor. A brief movement above the coral becomes a private signal between two hidden fish. One partner watches for danger, while the other builds their shared home.
Their survival depends on constant communication without a single sound.
A creature smaller than a finger can vanish inside the pattern of one coral branch.
The reef rewards patient eyes with animals designed to resemble their surroundings.
Some small reef animals hide, while others advertise themselves with unforgettable color. A quiet reef crawler suddenly becomes one of the ocean's most graceful swimmers. The sunlight above is captured by living mantles spread across the reef. Even the coral itself provides shelter in exchange for constant maintenance. The current becomes a moving table for animals built to filter it.
The next partnership appears dangerous until trust becomes visible.
The moray accepts a service that removes what it cannot reach alone. Beauty and defense are displayed together in every extended fin.
Movement can expose an animal, so this fish survives by moving almost not at all.
A fish that rarely swims has learned to walk across the reef instead.
Another master of disguise enters, but this one explores with remarkable intelligence.
Every arm gathers information from the reef beneath it. Color becomes a language, a disguise, and a warning within the same living skin.
Signals travel above an animal almost invisible against the seafloor.
One effortless movement reveals how completely the ray had disappeared.
A familiar traveler returns to connect the reef with the meadows beyond. The reef and the seagrass meadow survive because animals move constantly between them.
The great grazers return, reminding us that every part of this reef is connected.
One of the reef's most imposing residents moves with unexpected calm.
Even the reef's largest fish must pause for the smallest specialists. Shadows with black-tipped fins patrol the brightest edge of the reef.
Different sharks occupy different layers of the same reef boundary. Familiar shapes return, making the reef feel like a world with recognizable paths. A larger visitor now returns to the reef's busiest meeting place. The reef links the smallest cleaner to the greatest traveler beyond its walls. The current now begins drawing the reef's energy toward the open ocean. Powerful fish follow the same current that carries thousands of smaller bodies. The reef's colors now give way to a moving wall of silver. Stillness above the school creates a quiet tension without disturbing the reef. While the great schools move onward, these animals spend their lives anchored to one patch of sand. A tiny burrow becomes the center of an entire life. One coral head may contain more territories than the eye first notices. The reef is filled with faces that appear only when the viewer waits. Some reef fish prefer to watch the moving world from a fixed lookout.
An unusual body shape produces movement unlike any other fish nearby. And defense remains hidden until danger makes it necessary.
Bold patterns can identify a fish before its shape becomes clear. Constant grazing prevents fast-growing algae from overwhelming the coral.
Different species now gather along the same route toward the open sea. As the light changes, the reef begins preparing for another rhythm.
As daylight weakens, new animals begin reaching into the moving water. The reef does not become quiet when daylight fades. It simply changes workers.
Familiar squid return as the reef's daytime colors begin to soften.
As larger fish leave the basin, smaller reef animals claim the foreground.
The shaded caves are filling with fish, prepared for the coming darkness.
The reef's moving river is now carrying us beyond the coral walls.
The underwater city falls behind, but its travelers lead toward a much larger world.
Something far larger is rising beneath the school, just beyond the reef's protection.
The reef has delivered us back to the giants, where the next journey will begin.
Beyond the reef, voices are calling from a world with no walls. Beyond the reef, voices are calling from a world without walls. The mysterious voices now take shape as a familiar pod returns.
Only in the open ocean does the true scale of these travelers become clear.
The giant is rising, and the surface is about to reveal its power.
One breath transforms the calm horizon into an unforgettable spectacle.
The dolphins answer the whale's quiet power with effortless movement of their own.
A single movement of the tail sends energy through thousands of tons of water. A younger traveler appears, protected by a body many times its size. The calf learns the ocean by following every movement of its mother. Play is more than entertainment here. It prepares a young whale for survival. Every depth holds a different journey, yet all of them share the same moving water. A faster giant now enters, built to cross the ocean with astonishing efficiency. Its speed is hidden inside movements that appear almost effortless. Another breath marks the passage of a traveler that may cross entire oceans. The water darkens beneath a body larger than anything else alive. No camera angle can contain the full scale of the largest animal on Earth.
Its immense body is sustained by creatures almost invisible in the water.
A nearly invisible boundary concentrates the food that giants follow. As one giant descends, another voice rises from the darkness. A deep diver returns from a world where sunlight never reaches.
Its breath confirms a journey that may have reached more than a kilometer below.
The next descent leads into darkness, guided almost entirely by sound. Above the solitary diver, a family travels by constant communication. For these whales, survival is built around a family that rarely separates. Another social hunter crosses the same ocean highway without disturbing the family below. Coordination allows a powerful group to move through the sea as one. Their pale markings record years of life written directly across the skin.
Every scar makes the older dolphins more recognizable to those traveling beside them.
But beneath the travelers, thousands of fish turn the empty blue into living architecture.
The shape changes every second, yet the school never loses its unity.
The ocean's fastest performers arrive beside a moving river of silver.
Speed becomes a form of entertainment when every turn remains perfectly controlled.
For a few seconds, the open sea becomes a stage, with no audience but the horizon.
Another silver highway forms ahead, drawing the journey deeper into the blue. A hidden giant rises beneath the silver current, promising the next dramatic reveal.
One carefully timed movement gathers thousands of small fish without disrupting the wider sea.
After the giant passes, the silver school rebuilds itself within seconds.
These powerful fish are built to remain in motion across enormous distances.
A long, streamlined hunter enters the frame like a blade moving through water. The blue opens again, revealing colors that seem impossible until they move.
A drifting patch of seaweed becomes a vivid meeting place in the empty ocean.
The largest fish in the sea returns, following food too small to be seen from the surface.
Its enormous size is supported by patience rather than pursuit.
3 silent wings join the giant along the same invisible trail of food.
Each manta carries a pattern as individual as a fingerprint.
Beneath the passing wings, one unusual traveler
pauses for a necessary service. The direction changes, and the warm tropical sea begins giving way to cooler currents. Migration paths overlap briefly before each traveler follows its own destination. The color of the water announces that a new ocean habitat is approaching. Long fins and slender bodies reveal animals built for life far from land. Different sharks divide the open ocean by depth, temperature, and opportunity. A volcanic ridge gathers one of the ocean's most recognizable silhouettes. The seamount turns empty water into a gathering place for life.
One extraordinary tale makes this solitary shark instantly unforgettable.
Another giant shark survives not by chasing prey, but by filtering the sea itself. Its intimidating appearance hides one of the gentlest feeding strategies in the ocean. A rarely seen deep diver offers only a brief glimpse before disappearing again. But the deep diver leaves as coastal travelers begin guiding us toward land. Cooler currents bring new colors, new fish, and a different rhythm of movement. The open ocean is becoming shallower, and the seafloor is returning. Rock, algae, and cooler light announce the edge of an underwater forest. One final giant marks the boundary between the open sea and the coast. The blue world now transforms into a forest, moved by every passing wave. Something is moving between the trees of this underwater forest. Beyond these moving walls, an entirely different ocean kingdom is waiting.
But the moving forest has hidden its first resident, inviting us farther inside.
The hidden silhouette becomes a seal built to move effortlessly through this underwater forest. Curiosity brings the seal closer, but the forest remains its world, not ours. As the seal rises, a quieter community appears beneath the canopy.
The nest may appear simple, but every cleared stone represents careful work. Small grazers can determine whether this coast remains a forest or becomes bare rock. Movement almost too slow to notice can still reshape an entire seafloor community. Beneath the rock, an animal protected by one heavy shell survives the constant coastal surge. Camouflage in this forest is built from the colors of the plants themselves. Two unrelated animals disappear by borrowing the same shape and color. A fish almost identical to the forest moves only when the current conceals it. The forest opens onto a quiet nursery where patterned sharks gather above the sand.
Their calm formation reveals a coastal shark, far different from the image many people expect.
The passing shadows awaken an animal almost completely hidden beneath the seafloor. With one quiet lift, the seafloor becomes open water. A massive resident appears between the trees, moving with the authority of age. Its scars record decades spent navigating this shifting underwater forest. Even the largest fish in the forest depends on smaller partners. A
predator disappears not by changing color, but by matching a reef that never stops moving. The forest canopy redirects every school like wind moving through trees. Two agile visitors transform the quiet clearing into a fluid underwater performance. Their flexible bodies turn narrow spaces into effortless pathways. Beneath the playful seal, an armored resident begins its careful journey.
Touch and chemical signals guide the lobster through places where vision is limited. This crab does not merely hide beside the reef, it carries the reef upon its back. Camouflage becomes a construction project, completed one fragment at a time. Cold water reefs create color through animals rather than coral alone.
The smallest flash of color may belong to an animal hidden beneath the forest canopy. Soft-bodied grazers move quietly through places protected from the strongest surge. One kelp holdfast shelters a miniature community beneath the towering forest. The giant of the forest begins life inside a shelter formed by plants.
A bonded pair occupies the same den year after year beneath the kelp.
Their intimidating faces conceal a remarkably stable partnership.